If you're a big soups and stews fan, you are about to get the ultimate upgrade today because I'm going to show you how to make one of the coolest recipes to say ever, Hungarian goulash. And the best part, it's delicious. Hungarian goulash is definitely not your typical grandma's beef stew. No, we've got a few more spices going in there, a couple other ingredients. But when you look at the recipe, a lot of folks just throw some things in a pot and let it simmer just like you would a beef stew. However, for me, you know I'm all about those procedures. We are going to concentrate flavors in steps. We're going to pull as much flavor from an ingredient before we add another one in. It is incredible, dude. No joke. It is so good. But I'm going to stop a few times along the way in this video because I have a lot to say. And this is one of the only recipes I do where we're actually going to prep while we cook instead of doing it all at the beginning. We do, though, need to start chopping. Sound good? Let's cook. I've got a few strips of bacon that we need to roughly chop up. Now, the most important thing about this in the recipe is actually the rendered bacon fat. So this does not have to be perfect in any way. Take the bacon right over to the cooktop. I've got a large Dutch oven pot over medium heat. We are going to add in the bacon, give it a few stirs, but in the meantime, we are going to prep up other ingredients. Remember to come back to this and stir it every few minutes. Now, the beef for this goulash, I'm going to be using beef shank. You could also use top sirloin, bottom round, sirloin, or even a ribeye. What we need to do in a beef shank, though, is remove that big bone in the center. So just simply cut around it using a boning knife or a chef knife. Once the bone is removed, the goal here is to cut it into 1 inch to 2 inch size cubes, which is very easy to do, and you can absolutely trim off any fat that you don't want on there. We are going back over to the cooktop and we are going to have a look at our bacon. It's nice and crisp. This is perfect, but what we want to do is remove those crisp bacon lardons out of the pot and set them to the side. Now, add the beef back into that rendered bacon pot. We are going to crank the heat up onto high. This is going to take about 10 to 12 minutes to cook. The goal here is to get that beef juice that goes into there absorbed and evaporated so that it begins to nicely sear. But this is great timing because we have more to prep up, starting with some onions. I've got some sweet onions, well, just because they were on sale. You could also use yellows or whites here in this recipe. Slice off the ends, remove that outside peel, and I'm just going to medium to large dice these. Again, we're going to caramelize these so they don't need to be perfect. And for the garlic, if you've been following me, you already know it's getting run through a press right into a small bowl. Now let's take the garlic and the onions, let's go over to the cooktop and have a look. You can see that the meat is starting to brown up really, really nice. This is fantastic. We are going to slow braise this until it's very tender, and this browning is going to help in the flavor department big time. So just like the bacon, using some tongs, I'm going to switch out here from that spoon. I'm going to add it and set it to the side in a large bowl. Head back over to that pot. We are going to add in those medium to large dice onions. We want to cook this for 20 to 25 minutes on to low to medium heat, so be sure to turn the heat down. Again, come back and stir it every few minutes. In the meantime, again, we have more to prep up. This is one of the only recipes you'll see me do this. We need to seed up a red bell pepper and then small to medium dice it. You could also add in a green bell pepper or just use one of the other red or green. And Hungarian goulash is known to have a little zip, so you can either use a cubanelle or a banana pepper. For me, I'm going to choose the banana pepper because I just like the flavor a little bit more. Now you can small dice this, medium dice it, large dice it, or slice it into rings just like I'm doing here. But when you do this, you're going to get a little bit of seed and pith in there. And for me, you know how weak I am when it comes to spice, so I'm going to remove most of that out and set it to the side. This recipe definitely does have a little zip to it, not too strong because those peppers aren't that spicy. However, if you do not have an option to get a banana pepper or a cubanelle, what we can do is substitute with maybe a serrano, a Fresno, or a jalapeno. If you want to take this thing over the top, maybe you can throw in a habanero pepper, but I'm just warning you, that would be really spicy. Okay, here's what we do now. I've got some beautiful fresh vine-ripe tomatoes. We just want to remove that stem, that core that's on the outside, give a little flick, move it aside, and again, medium to large dice. Does not need to be perfect. If you are out of season for this recipe, a 15-ounce can of drained diced tomatoes will work perfectly in this recipe. We're going to set it to the side in a bowl, take that over to our cooktop. Let's have a look at our onions. Again, after 20 to 25 minutes, you should have this deep brown caramelization on them. This looks fantastic. We are going to add in the bell peppers, followed up by the sliced banana pepper rings, and then, of course, that finely minced garlic. What we're looking to do here is to saute it. So we're going to turn the heat up a little bit to about medium, maybe a hair over, maybe 4 or 5 minutes, continually stirring. We want the vegetables to be tender and maybe lightly brown, nothing past that. At this point, add in those tomatoes, and we're going to stew this for another 4 to 5 minutes. The goal here is to get a lot of the liquid evaporated and absorbed into the mixture until it becomes thick, just like this. Now, at this point, grab the beef. We're adding it right back to that pot, followed up with a few more ingredients, beginning with some spices. I've got some cumin that I'm going to add in, followed up with a bunch of Hungarian-style sweet paprika. This is where a lot of the flavor and the color comes from. Next, of course, some of that bacon. What we want to do is cook this over medium heat for about 4 to 5 minutes. The colors will be incredible, and it will smell absolutely amazing. Really quickly, an incredibly classic ingredient that you would put in here is caraway seeds, and you would put it in when you add in the paprika and the cumin. For me, I don't know what it is. I just don't like caraway seeds in here. It's just a personal opinion. It is classic to use them. So what you could do is add it in addition, or you could sub out the cumin for caraway seeds. Totally up to you. Just that licorice type flavor. Not a huge fan. Okay, here's what we're going to do now. After all the flavors are incorporated, we are going to deglaze with red wine. I'm using a Cabernet Sauvignon here. We want to cook it to the amount of liquid is reduced by about 1/2 to 1/3, just like this. It should be pretty thick. This looks fantastic. At this point, we are going to add in some good beef stock. I've got a fantastic recipe for you, followed up with a few more ingredients, including some bay leaves. And then this is the braising liquid that's going to provide the flavor for everything. So you need to season it very well with salt and cracked black pepper. Be sure to taste it. Make sure it is very seasoned up. We are going to stir all of these ingredients together until combined. We're going to add a lid on, and then on low to medium heat, we're going to cook it for 90 minutes. We want that beef to be super tender. After that 90-minute cooking time, don't worry, we're going to cook it a little bit more, but this is great timing to start peeling up some carrots, and you can large dice them or just thickly slice them like I'm doing here. Same goes with some russet potatoes, very classic to use in this recipe. Give them a peel. And then what I'm going to do is quarter them. We want some big, thick slices of this in this goulash. Now, a few other things you could add, because you got to remember when this recipe was created, it's all about availability. So if they had a few more root veggies to throw in there, fantastic. You can throw in things like turnips, which is this is, a parsnip, or even some celeriac root, which is going to add absolutely some incredible flavors to this goulash. Add everything to a bowl. Let's go back over and have a look how everything is looking and smelling. And dude, the color, the flavor, absolutely amazing. What we're going to do is add in all of those vegetables. And one more quick thing, if you want to add this in there, it'll thicken it up even more. You can add in about a 1/4 cup of tomato paste. We'll make it a little bit more stew-like. You can if you want, totally up to you. Add on the lid, cook it for 30 more minutes on low to medium heat. We'll come back, let's have a look, make sure the vegetables are nice and tender. You can see that it's thickened up. Incredible, my friends. Let's take it off the heat and get ready to plate up this goodness. You know I'm in love with this recipe because there are so many techniques used, whether it's perfecting your knife cuts, pulling as much flavor out of an ingredient as possible by caramelizing them in steps. You know I love this one. And I'm telling you, you put these things into practice, into your everyday cooking, everyday recipes, everything will be so much better. You're going to be the best home cook, home chef on the block in the family. Between all your friends, they're coming to your house, my friends. And of course, in the end, what do you get? You get this incredible homemade food from scratch, and it is so dang good. Okay, very easy to plate this up. I'm going to show you how to do it. Here we go. Super simple. Add some of that stew right to a very large bowl, and then very classically garnish with some fresh chopped parsley. If you love this recipe, definitely like and share it with your friends. Smash that subscribe button and definitely check out this recipe right here. I made it for you all, and we will see you on it. Let's get in some of this.